So let me say something. You see the amazing product that these business owners are selling? They've all been selling it only in Nigeria. They've never thought of moving it across Africa. So when we asked them just now, we said, would you like to sell this outside of Nigeria? They all shouted yes, but they don't know about AFCFTA. Some of you here, you have businesses, you also may not have heard of it, but today I am going to be speaking with this amazing panelists, and they would introduce themselves, speak for a minute or two before we go into the questions proper. So I will start with my immediate left, and except if you would say, let us do the chivalry thing and say ladies first and gentlemen. So we would start with Bamidele. So Bamidele would give a brief about herself, what she does, and then we can go into the questions proper. So Bamidele, please. Is it?
Okay. All right, thank you so much. My name is Bamidele. I run a company called Welcome to Africa International, where we promote and facilitate trade and investments. We're focused on Nigeria's agribusiness sector, and we've recently added maritime to the list of our focal areas. So, of course, issues like this are of great importance to us. We provide a number of different services, from research for our investors. We do programs and events. And then we also do matchmaking between buyers and sellers, or investors and investees. So that's a summary of what we do, and I'm happy to be here. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Bamidele. So I would go then to my extreme left, and that will be Mr. Yusuf. Just a bit about yourself, and before we dive into this.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Ezekiel Yusuf, the founder of the Great School of People Management and Strategy. What we do is to help organizations understand the role that effective people management plays in accomplishing business goals and objectives. So we're into advisory, we're into training, we're into consulting, and for now we're based in Lagos, somewhere in Ikoyi, and we're hoping to come to Abuja. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Taiwo Akerele. I'm the Executive Director of Policy House International, and I also advise the World Bank on the COVID-19 recovery program for Nigeria. Before I became the Chief of Staff of Edo State in 2016, I had managed the youth employment scheme called the C4 program, a $42 million project in Edo State, and I also managed the development policy operation, which was a budget reform program for the state. I'm pleased to be here. Congratulations to ReadyToLeadAfrica, and thank you for providing the platform for young people to come and cross-pollinate ideas on how they can key into the business of the economy. It's very profound. Thank you very much. So when we're talking about is Africa ready to do business, it's very important for us to understand the background why Africa has not been very productive since independence. Most African countries have not been productive since independence because our economy has largely been informal. Government policies are very, very unstable and not sustainable. There has been no government-to-government transfer of knowledge, capacity building, and of course the capacity of the civil service is very weak. And citizen engagement is actually very appalling. When you go to the slide 4 of my presentation, you will discover that Africa, with over 1 billion population, contributes only 3.2% to world growth. Our output is one of the most awful in the world. So what are 1.4 billion people doing? Is it that we are not productive? Are we just sleeping? Look at Association of Southeast Asian Nations, with about just 10 countries. Look at the output. contributing not less than 14% to global GDP. So it is very important that we are here today to understand how do we key in. But before we know how to key in, we need to address, there's something that God bless said to me today, housekeeping. We must first of all keep the house in order as a continent, as a people. Because I've looked at the AFCTA, the African Free Continental Trade Area, and I noticed that it's a very lawful program. But in the individual countries, how are we doing our businesses within our individual countries? How strong is our infrastructure? What are the enabling environment for businesses to thrive that have been created? What is our interest rate? And that's why I was very angry with some young people 2 days ago. The president presented his inaugural speech while the, communication of the presidential speech to their businesses, young people were busy sharing videos of how the president his hand was shaking. I gave them a picture to present, to project. Dangote, the richest man in Africa, knelt down to discuss with the newly inaugurated president of Nigeria. And tomorrow somebody will say, Dangote is making so much money. Because he has keyed in into the new government. All of us have to key in into government programs and policies. Today, interest rate is double digit, almost 20-something% interest rate. But Mr. President said it in Eagle Square that one of the cardinal objectives of his government is to crash down interest rate to single digit. What is the implication of that to your business? It means that you can actually now go to the bank and get loan at 5%, at 6% when it is implemented. Today, for you to export your product, you need to buy dollars from the black market, because you cannot access dollar from CBN directly because of so many procedures and processes that are involved. But Mr. President has said he is going to merge the foreign exchange, that there will be no more double foreign exchange in the country. These are some of the focus areas that our young people should be talking about. Okay. Going out just now, I saw the amazing things that young people are doing. Mm-hmm. But unfortunately, the macroeconomic space is so limited to the extent that they don't even know how to market their product. And that is why this very space that you have created is so profound. I want to congratulate you once again. Thank you so much.
All of that and then request. So I'll go straight to Bamidele now.
Okay, thank you. So within the agricultural space, which is kind of where we mediate and where we play, I would say there's a lot going on. Okay, we've been able to build a small business based on whatever is going on within the agricultural space. As at now, Nigeria imports a whole lot, and a lot of what Nigeria imports, we have the capacity to produce. Okay, so that being said, there's a lot of opportunities across the whole value chain. But when we talk about trading within Africa, I think I have some alternative views. Okay. I think it's a nice idea in theory, and I pray, at some point it materializes. But I think there's some foundational issues that need to be addressed. One of it is infrastructure, and I'll give you a good example. If I wanted to travel from Abuja to just Abidjan here, I would have to go to Lagos first, then take another flight to Abidjan. Okay, so a journey that should take 1 hour could easily take 6 hours. Correct. Okay, which then means I'm better off going to the UK. Okay. I remember there was a time I wanted to fly to Ghana, and I looked at the price of the ticket. It was almost the same as going to Dubai. Okay, so with issues like that, what is the benefit of pushing this agenda when it kind of it's almost an inconvenience, okay? So I think there's some foundational things that need to be addressed when it comes to infrastructure. Then I think also to the point of infrastructure, I wanted to address the issue of even transportation, okay? In Europe, for example, you could get on a train from Brussels to Paris, in fact, Germany. You could probably go to 5 different countries in one day. Okay, but you cannot dream of doing that in Africa. Okay, and the European Union have created that enabling environment to allow that transportation of people and goods, which is where trade happens. So,
sorry, do you mind if I just stop you there for a minute and ask a further question on that? So when you say European Union, you can do that, right? Isn't it what the AFCFTA is trying to address now with these gaps that you've noticed in infrastructure?
From what I understand, there's various things that they're trying to address, okay? Some of it is, desensitization, where they want people to know about it. But then even if you know about it, let me trade with, I don't know, Kenya, for example.
Correct.
There's still the issues that you'll face. Okay, I'll give you one last final example. So we have a number of different agribusinesses that we work with. Okay, many of whom are exporting to Europe. If, for example, you want to export your goods to the UK, for example, it will cost about $500, for example. I'm just giving a figure. But then if you want to export that same goods to Kenya, it's almost times 10 the price. Okay, so is it not just better to continue what we've been doing until those infrastructural challenges have been addressed? So I think it's a nice idea in theory, but I think there's some basics that need to be addressed before we really start pushing it, okay? That's my opinion.
So you think we have to address the challenges first before we try to use the instrument?
Yes.
Is that correct?
I would say so, yeah.
Okay, great. I mean, we'll come back to the audience. Yusuf, right now, people can actually export their products and services for way less than they would without the AFCFTA in place. Because for rules of origin, reduction of tariffs across different custom borders, right, distribution channel, it exists right now. Are you saying that we do not believe? Do you think it is a question of we do not believe these things have been done and we can take advantage? Or they are not just there yet, despite the fact that we are shouting AFCFTA?
Okay, I think a major issue here is the mindset of the youth. Yes. It's been said that we have this consumption mindset. So, when you have a consumption mentality, even in the face of glaring opportunities, you would not put it to use. So an average Nigerian is all about, what can I get? What can I get? The reason we go to school after school is, it's not so much about when I go to school, what can I give? It's about, I'm going to school so that, what can I get? And so this has significantly, affected production, it has affected output. Take, for example, why is it that any time we're shipping anything from the US or from any European nation to Nigeria, why is it that we pay much more than any other country? Because most of the time, when these containers are going back from Nigeria, they go back empty. And so they actually factor in the cost of the ship going back empty into the costs that they've charged you for importing the vehicles. We import about 40 containers of fish every day that we eat. So imagine all these containers coming in and nothing is going out. So when it comes to tangible products, we are very, very far from it. We're far from it. So many factors are responsible: infrastructural facilities, insecurity, politics, and all. But this is it. For young people, we can begin with one of our strengths in Nigeria, in Africa, is that we are tremendously skilled. We're tremendously skilled. When I say skilled in terms of services, we need to begin to see how to increase our exports. For an average person in accounting, for an average person in whatever field, if we are having issues, because an average person will tell you, I have issues with capital, that's why we're able to key into this, we're able to key into that. But let us even start with whatever ideas that you have. Can you begin to sell that? There's somebody out there who needs that information you have to make his or business successful. So if we can begin to look at how we can begin to sell these intangibles first, intensify efforts in it. Look at developed economies, look at the America. We do tremendously well. And look at the areas where we're doing well. Have you checked? We're not in their manufacturing. When it comes to their tertiary industry, we are leading. Name it. Any of the industries. Security, we're there. Finance, we're there. So it's a mindset thing.
So technically, we don't like manufacturing things.
We don't know, because the environment is not enabling.
So let me come to Taiwo. Taiwo, I want this to be because what we've done with ReadyToTrade is that we're not just, first we want to get these young people who have never heard of it before to hear about it. For us, that's success. Somebody's going to leave here today and say, oh, there is the African Continental Free Trade Agreement. Let me Google it. How can I be a part of it? How can I succeed with it? And all of that. For us, that's success. The second thing is we want to actually move products and services because that's what puts money in your pocket, right? Go. Yeah.
For them to project this, just a summary of the AFTC, so that while you're discussing,
yeah,
sure. If they can project.
Yes, we're going to do.
Okay.
I mean, there's a session for that. There's a session for that. Because the question I wanted to ask him is, he's worked with rural women, you've worked with young people, you see all of these things. What are you saying to Titi, to John, to Daniel? What should they do now after this encounter that will mean that pocket transformation that we talked about is going to sort of happen because they were here? Because that's for us another way to measure success. What should they do now? Is it just to read about the AFCFTA, or they should really just buy a product and go to the airport and say, I want to sell this thing to Ghana, move it for me? What should they do, sir?
See, knowledge is power.
Mm-hmm.
Without knowledge, the Bible says, my people are perished. Mm-hmm. The truth is that a lot of people, a lot of young people really want to do things. They want to do stuff positive that will transform their environment.
Correct.
That will leapfrog the economic base to a higher level. But there's a lot of gap in between what they want to do and information that is available. And of course, the third component is government policy. So I can motivate people to say, okay, you have that idea, go ahead and do it. But there's always a junction. There are always bubble traps set along the way for young people in this country. Because we have to be practical. I know a few people here who are into businesses, but they are limited as a result of macroeconomic instability of the government, as a result of infrastructure challenges that have been identified by my co-panelists. So most of them are very knowledgeable. They know what they want to do. But there's a lot of disincentiveness in the environment, right? There are so many things that needs to be unbundled. For instance, you want to take your products from here to Europe, from here to the US. What does the custom say? Do you pay higher tariffs? Are there shortcuts? What is the quality of that product? I mean, in America today, we consume more of Ghana yams than Nigerian yams. Meanwhile, Nigeria is the largest producer of yam in the world.
Did you hear that?
But 60% of yams consumed in the US come from Ghana. Even Nigerian producers export their yam through Ghana, because if you export directly, you will be subjected to more scrutiny as a result of the fact that Nigerian products have been flagged by the US Customs and Border Immigration Services.
Is it for lack of quality?
Quality issues. So that is where the issue of government intervention comes in. You talk of Standard Organization of Nigeria. What are they doing to ensure that they are not just like the proverbial last man in Lagos that will go and hide for you to beat the traffic for them to arrest you? They are also supposed to build the capacity of our businessmen to say, before you bring this product to me for certification, these are what you need to do. So that by the time you are bringing your finished product for certification and quality assurance, you've already met the conditions precedent to even the process itself. So there's a whole lot. It's a basket of activity. So they have their role. We have our role as businessmen. The government has its role to play, which is the regulatory institutions. Then you also have to understand the business environment of your partners. It's not the normal Nigerian anyhow kind of stuff. And that is why we are limited. So you must understand what is expected in the US. What kind of standard of product are expected of you? It's not just to say, I have yams. How many months can your yams stay in the ship before they finally arrive Chicago, for instance? You need to factor that in. so that by the time your yams arrive in New York, they are not rotten yams.
Okay.
So these are some of the issues. So it's very practical, and it's a value chain of issues.
I hear you on that. So you've touched on our anyhowness, lack of respect for quality, right? Now, the business policy environment, like you said, government policy, because everything is interwoven. We will be showing you guys a video soon, and based off on the fact that we are committed to what we're saying, we are launching our e-commerce platform called One Market Africa. The goal is to actually aggregate African-based products. Currently, we don't have that. What you have are the Alibabas and the Jumias and all of that. But to say that these products are from Africa, so you are coming to the place where you know that you are buying African products. Bamidele, because you enable investment, your research, you're doing all of these things. Would you say you believe the AFCFTA instrument, in theory, it's a fantastic idea, but for you, you look at the biggest infrastructural deficit is making it almost difficult. What is the potential if it works? What does that look like?
Yeah, so if it works, of course, it's a very good initiative. Like Taiwo mentioned, the Africa population is 1 billion.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so that's a lot of people, that's a lot of customers, that's a lot of buying power.
Correct.
So, of course, that's access to a bigger market. But, you've mentioned that you have a lot of youths here. I would suggest doing well in Nigeria first, trading well within Nigeria first before you even start thinking about exporting. Okay, we already have our own food crisis, so to speak. So why are you thinking of Ghana when, maybe the next state needs what you're producing? So, I feel, in my opinion, and a lot of my opinions, I would say, are a little bit controversial in the sense that I don't feel that we are ready as a continent to properly implement cross-border trade or trade within Africa. We cannot even trade amongst ourselves. I remember there's so many times that I've taken road trips and then you'll see a trailer on the floor. It's spilled over with so much goods that has gone to waste. Mm-hmm. And that's just basic infrastructure. The road is not good. Or there's no proper rail to transport goods. But, but the good thing about at least highlighting the potential is that hopefully those that are responsible for these infrastructural revolutions, so to speak, hopefully they begin to take it a bit more serious, because if it does work, the opportunity is there.
That is where I'm going to. So Yusuf, you see what I'm saying is more like saying, what should we do? Should we fix the problems first before we take this step? Because that is my next question, which will be, don't you think when we continue to talk about the need to trade amongst ourselves across Africa would most likely be the reason why we push governments within Africa to invest in the necessary infrastructure? So, for example, the rail project across the coastal shores of West Africa that has been a dream. That rail line is supposed to go through Lagos, Accra, Lomé, Abidjan, and Monrovia, as well as Freetown. Because when you travel, right, you will see it. You will just see, they're all within a coastal. So, doesn't this help us maybe make the demand that we are unable to move forward because we don't have this, now build this? Yusuf, you want to take that and then we'll come back to you.
Okay. First, I forgot to say a very big round of applause to ReadyToLeadAfrica for this very great initiative. Please let's do that.
Thank you.
When I got the invite, I was with a friend of mine. I said, there's this guys in Abuja. They're asking me to come. So the next question he asked me was, so how much? I said, no, it's not about how much. I said, I've looked through these guys. In fact, I was a bit confused initially. I wasn't sure if it was an NGO or a profit-making business, But so when I saw, ReadyToWork and all that, okay, I said, this looks more like an NGO, but whatever these guys are doing, I'm going to leave Lagos and I'm going to go to Abuja to give them whatever support I can to see that this thing works. So please keep the fire burning. It's a good work you're doing here.
Thank you.
And
Thank you.
very proud of you. So, like you have rightly mentioned, for businesses to thrive, for trade to be successful, there has to be an alignment between the government and the people. When we talk about, like you rightly said, talking about this, the reality in these things, it's one thing for us to say it, but when we get practical, the infrastructures are not there. The personnel to drive these things who are in our regulatory institutions, law enforcement, they don't even have that buy-in as well. The government doesn't have it. These people don't have it. And so I personally think that one of the right steps that we have taken right now in the right direction is when you look at the leadership of this nation in the past, we haven't had businessmen.
Okay.
For any economy to thrive, you need somebody who has some business acumen to be in charge. Mm-hmm. So we've had military men, we've had all sorts. And so right now we have somebody who has, of course, people are entitled to their opinions. They can say all sorts, but he has a business background. And with what he did with the beach in Lagos, just that alone, with the institutions that he has created, the LASMA and all that, that's a good testimony. And I believe that the person who has done such a thing can do much more for our economy in this area. So I think right now my response would be our youth should keep equipping and preparing themselves while we look forward to positive changes within the next 4 years. The rail that you just talked about, let's look at the possibility of having that accomplished and look at other networking opportunities between Nigeria and its neighboring countries. Because I must tell you one thing, the relationship we have with our neighbors is not strong and it's not healthy. You look at the scrutiny that, before you even talk about goods, look at what you go through to move from Nigeria to Seme or Benin Republic. Look at what you're subjected to. Ideally, we shouldn't have to be checking passports. If it is that strong, let's begin with that. Before you go to Benin or Ghana, they need to see your passport. Without passport, you have to bribe them. So if we truly want to accomplish this free trade, let's even begin with things like that. So the level of trust isn't there. So it means that we need to improve on building relationships with our neighboring, communities before we get into the business aspect of it.
Okay. So a lot to unpack, and then you have expressed your standing on a lot of touchy issues. Like you said, people would have their opinion, and I think that has to be stated. Lack of trust amongst Africans, also impeding within the ECOWAS region alone, can also be a big issue. And the Secretary General of the African Continental Free Trade Agreement, Wamkele, is supposed to be with us today, but he's attending a high-level ministerial meeting in Kenya, and he's unable to join us. He communicated his regret, and we look forward to engaging. As we round this off, what I said in my opening remark, I meant it. Because I've been working in the CSO space for over 10 years. And I can tell you that I have not sold my vote for once. Never. Even while I was still a young person who didn't know what I now know. But I have seen people who take pride in selling their votes. And when you ask them, they tell you, maybe who chop the day alive. For me is we must empower the citizens who must be able to say no to bad policies and be able to use their capacity to influence government in a way that government does the right thing. If we were asking more questions by now, we will have a rail line that is designed to transport petroleum only, just as you have in other parts of the world. You see rail lines that transport food. That's why you see when they say the railway workers want to strike in the US, it's not the Amtraks they are talking about. It's those guys who move the freight, the heavy stuff. So I think if we have a much more educated citizenry, we will be able to influence government policies in a way that helps us build the infrastructure that we need. Before we go, I'll just give our panelists 1 minute each to give a parting word. We're talking about benefits of AFTA. We believe that if we trade more with ourselves, we'll generate, I think it's in billions of dollars, you know. So let's start with Yusuf, and then we'll come like this. 1 minute, please, 60 seconds.
Okay, with a population of over 200 million, and with a very huge respect that we have in other countries, for those of us who have had to visit, one country or the other at one time, you notice that when they ask you, where are you from? This one says Ghana. Where are you from? This one says Kenya. The moment you say Nigeria, you get special attention, because there's something about everybody here. Like I used to tell people, it's because we see ourselves every day. That's why they see finish. But if you know how valuable you are so valuable that when you go to another country, you're almost a threat. You're already intimidating them without a word from you. So I need everybody here to believe in themselves and don't allow the way the economy is, the country is, to define who you are. All right? We have so much issues in Nigeria because we have too many intelligent persons, like Ali Baba would say, that, it takes a lot of intelligent people, to make a place disorderly. In other African countries, there's so much order because when you tell 5-7 persons, do this, they all agree. But in Nigeria, pick 5 persons and tell them this is what we're going to do. 4 of them will question why you want to do it that way. 4 of them will question your antecedents. They'll question so many things. And it's not our fault. It's just because we're uniquely designed. We're very brilliant, And so that's why we're going through all this that we're having in Nigeria. So I would say to you, as you're seated here, please believe in yourself and don't allow the environment, affect or influence how much self-esteem that you have. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Believe in yourself. That's it. Bamidele?
Okay, so just to kind of add to what was mentioned before, I think it's, in as much as, yes, there's some foundational issues that need to be sorted out, I think the fact that we're becoming a bit more aware about this should hopefully positively influence those that are supposed to do something about it, to do something about it. So I would encourage you to keep, keep the flame alive. For businesses here that, are trying to grow, I would suggest look at your local market first and then expand accordingly, okay? But yeah, keep pushing. Look at other people that are doing the same thing and see how they've been able to grow as well. So I think that's kind of it for me. But one last thing, I know that this is ready to work, and I think the impression I had was that there were a lot of people here looking for jobs.
Yeah, that was the plan.
I'm looking for an executive assistant. So
okay,
HR
did you
lady
hear
is
that?
There. Please, if you feel you can work with someone like me, please do reach out to us. Okay, I just thought I should mention that. And we have internship opportunities available within our organization as well. I thought it's very important to mention that.
Oh no, it's both. So you have ReadyToWork and ReadyToTrade. Okay, so you see, you have access to markets, and then you have access to jobs.
So those that want to work, we have opportunities.
Please, by all means, executive assistant.
And Ronke is over there.
Yeah, so Ronke manages the people operations at Welcome to Africa.
Yes.
International.
Yes.
Is that it?
Yes.
Okay,
yes,
great.
Yes.
So thank you, Bamidele, for we had almost 500 registration, and then this morning people said they couldn't get transportation to come because the queues are back, vehicles. So we got a bus to pick people from University of Abuja, and we made an arrangement for them they charged us 40,000. Guess what the price was this morning? 65,000. Yes, 65,000. So, for those who know us, when we do events, it's usually full. So for me, this is just Africa continental free trade happening to us in the in another dimension. Okay, thank you so much, Bamidele. Thank you. So, Mr. Taiwo Akerile.
Thank you very much for providing this platform for all of us to cross-pollinate ideas. In closing, I have a word for the AFCTA, and when you have opportunity to discuss with the Secretary General, our friend Mene, we should let him know that Africa needs to, first of all, improve the intra-regional trade. For example, we need to strengthen ECOWAS. During COVID, I flew, because we couldn't fly into Nigeria, so I flew via Air France and I landed in Cotonou. I deliberately counted 109 checkpoints between Semeboda and Badagry. This is a journey of not more than 10 kilometers for those of you who are very familiar with that environment. This is ECOWAS, where I'm supposed to just move in, just drive across. But I counted 109 checkpoints between police, customs, immigration, different kinds of uniformed people. So, and we are here talking about African continental free trade, environment. It's not going to work. I'm not being pessimistic, but there are certain key steps that must be taken. I should be able to go to Cotonou and come back same day without any harassment. My passport doesn't need to be stamped. I don't need passport. It's an ECOWAS free trade region. So we need to first of all take care of some of these issues. Then coming back to Nigeria, Nigeria also needs to be able to trade within itself. What does it take for somebody to take yam from Kano to Port Harcourt? How many days does it take? What does it take us to move from here to Benin? A journey of ordinarily not more than 5 hours. Take you the whole day. Mm-hmm. And we have been on the construction of that route for the past 10 years. So these are practical issues that are discouraging investment, discouraging young people. So when people talk about infrastructure, it's not hanging in the air. It is practical. I know a few people here who have their generators, they pay double tax. And that's why I said let us pay attention to policy statements being made by policymakers. The president, Mr. President said he's going to eliminate double taxation. And people don't seem to understand the importance of that. So we first of all need to understand the policy environment around Nigeria. How does it favor us? How do we key in? How do we repatriate our profits? How do we invest in capital repatriation as well? Then the value chain associated with agriculture and economy and everything. So it is on that note, I want to congratulate ReadyToLeadAfrica for providing this platform. And I want you to make it regular so that we can come here to look at government policies. How does it impact on young people? What was it last year and where are we now? No. Mr. President talked about creating 1 million jobs from digital economy. How do young people key into that space, that policy statement that has been made by Mr. President, digital economy, which is all encompassing? How do we create jobs? How do we key in? Instead of us sharing video of how Tinubu is not able to sign, how they are pushing him, these are the issues that should dominate our discussion. It's on that basis I want to thank you and God bless.
Thank you. All right, you can do that. For young people, especially the millennials and Gen Zs, that have come in behind us, we always find a way to make light of everything, And I think it is important that we look at the profit in every conversation and not just the comedy in it. We need to look at the profit in every conversation. So I want to say a big thank you to the panel, the panelists. Thank you so much for honoring us with your time. You've been here. Today is a work day. Do not take that for granted. You left what you're doing and you're here. I appreciate it in no small measure. We will continue to do this. And when we have audience with the Secretary General, definitely the issue of infrastructure, intra-African trade, building these bridges that we need to be able to move things through will be done. And I will tell you, please, if you are here and you believe in logistics, start a logistics company right now, because we'll be moving things across Africa in a way that you would never imagine in the next couple of years. The AFCFTA has come to stay. We are going to invest in the infrastructure needed to make it work. And it is your generation and your children that will benefit from the work that we do today, because you are ready to lead Africa, you are ready to trade, You are ready to work, and we are building the one market that will make it possible. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.